Alrighty, good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on where you're at. It's good to see everybody join me this Saturday morning for some NFL player prop talk. We're going to be going over some passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, fantasy score, receptions, touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, passing completions, interceptions, and tackles. or as many of those things as we can handle in about an hour, hour and a half or so. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for all the continued support, folks. You know that typically I'm a Monday through Friday kind of guy, but when there's an NFL Divisional Round playoff games coming up, I mean, I got to be there, right? And I got to be there for you guys to help you out in trying to fatten that wallet, trying to fill those pockets full of some NFL player prop money. So I appreciate JW for joining me this morning. Shout out to you. What's up to Delvin? Debnesh is in the building. We got Chill Robots in here. What's up to the Curry crew? Happy Saturday to you as well. Brandon, thanks for joining. We got Brett Favre up in here. Green Bay Packers legend. Brett Favre. He's ready for the game tonight. Green Bay, San Francisco. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. JY, good to see you. Let's go, CJ and gang. You finally hit on a 5-pick flex last night. Love to see it. JW says, yes. Low Baller 73, happy Saturday to you. Martin says the man of the hour is here at NBA later today. Probably not. Later today will be me in front of a TV somewhere watching all of these football games, truth be told. And then later in the night, I'll be in front of a TV somewhere watching the UFC event that's going to go down. I can't wait to see Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane go at it. Two of the best heavyweights I've ever seen going head to head. So we got some NFL action. Obviously some NBA will be in the mix. And we've got some MMA, UFC action going on later down the road tonight. Kyle, good to see you. Let's go, boys and girls. Best sports weekend of the year. Man, it's a fantastic sports weekend for sure, as I just mentioned. Desmond says, let's get it. Everyday Fantasy says, what's up to CJ and the Patreon gang? Thanks for a wonderful winning night, a.k.a. Don P111 made multiple winners. Dude, you killed it last night. I saw your entries. Don P111. You had a fantastic night. So proud to have helped and be a part of that. Michael Johnson says, let's get this money. Papika claps up in here. Don't forget to put Mahomes free square lock. Listen, my man's got a great point here. Patrick Mahomes promo going on right now on PrizePicks. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, maybe you've never seen a PrizePicks video or I've never even heard of it. It's simple. You pick your favorite players and props. You choose over or under on those prop lines. Parlay them together. And figure out how much you want to enter in. You could win anywhere from 2 times your money all the way up to 15 times your money playing NFL props. Use promo code Curry to get started today. 100% instant deposit match, meaning they're going to go dollar for dollar all the way up to $100 on anything you put in for the very first time over on PrizePicks. So you can either use the link down in the description below or just use promo code Curry. But yes, great point made there. Patrick Mahomes passing yard prop is set at just 0.5 passing yards. What do you guys think? Is he going to go over 0.5 passing yards? I mean, he'd have to come out there and somebody would have to, I don't know, tackle him or something before he attempted his first pass and like totally crack his ribs or, okay, I'm going to stop. We don't wish any of that. We're all going to take the over on Patrick Mahomes at 0.5 passing yards. It is a no-brainer, free square. You can go up to $20 on this particular promo, this particular offer. So yes, Papika clap. Great point made. We got to run the over on Pat Mahomes at 0.5 passing yards. Nick's in the building. Says, howdy, y'all. Hope everyone's ready to make some cash. Pound the like button. Pound the like button. Pound the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for the Saturday show. You're the best. Appreciate those kind words, Nick, and the continued support. Reggie Myers is up in here. He says, okay, CJ, let's get this money. Osmosis Jones is in the building. Another one of our Patreon members. Appreciate you being up in here. Mark H says, yo, let's do the damn thing. Listen, Mark, I'm trying to do the thing, but we don't have any sun here in Tampa Bay. It's a dark, dreary, cloudy, rainy kind of day, and it's cold. 50-something degree weather right now in Tampa, Florida. Get out of here. Who you talking? Going through the rest of the comments here, seeing some folks that I don't usually see, which is great on a Saturday. I know not everybody can make those Monday through Friday morning streams, but we've got Buffalo Discharge up in the building. Love that name. Not even sure what that's about. Kenlin W says King Henry is back. Absolutely. And he's back at 0.5 rushing touchdowns. We taking the over on that or what? Tyler says the only thing I like tonight is Crowder rebounds. Oh, man. We're talking NBA. Tony's up in here. Let's get it. McNasty is up in the building. Robert. Love to see all of the familiar and the not so familiar faces. Hopefully, if there's any new people up in here, you're subscribed and notifications are turned on. All right, let's get down to business, folks. Obviously, the no-brainer play of the day, Pat Mahomes, over 0.5 passing yards. But outside of that passing yard prop, which is an obvious free square, of course you're going to take the over on Pat Mahomes at 0.5 passing yards. What other passing yard props are standing out? Well, we're going to take a look at them. Let's start things off here with Tom Brady, the GOAT. He's going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Should be a very, very good game. The last time these two teams met, Tom Brady fell to the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe the Buccaneers get revenge. I hope that they do. You know, I'm not a Bucs fan, but I am a lifelong Tampa Bay native. And with my Eagles out of the picture at the hands of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, well, I've got to go with the home team, right? Which is the Bucs. So I'm rooting on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go through these games real quick. Kind of got out of order there. Let's go through these games real quick and see how things are shaping up. 47.5 points between the Bengals and Titans. 4-point spread in favor of Tennessee. Looking at the weather conditions, 34-degree weather in Tennessee. They are the home team here. 4-mile-per-hour winds. Not really worried about this being a windy game or anything like that. Looks like it's going to stay close, competitive. Hopefully we can get more of a balanced attack or approach from both of these teams. See a healthy amount of Joe Burrow dropping back, maybe hitting some Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Maybe we'll get Joe Mixon involved. Maybe he gets a rushing touchdown. We'll dig into that a little bit more. And then as somebody already mentioned in the chat, we got King Henry. Derrick Henry's back for the Tennessee Titans. He's got a little hardware in his foot. All right. He's got some plates, some screws holding things together. How will that impact Derrick Henry? We don't know. We're not sure yet. But from the practice footage that I've seen of him leading up to this game, he looks pretty good. All right. So this game gets going at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. The next game, Saturday, today, 8:15 p.m. at Lambeau Field. We finally get to see Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers take the field. It's going to be a very cold game. San Francisco, obviously a warm weather team playing out there, and Cali, they're coming into Green Bay looking like 10-degree weather in Green Bay, Wisconsin with 9-mile-per-hour winds. Dress warm, Deebo Samuel, Jimmy Garoppolo, and company. Dress warm. 47.5 point total on this game, 5.5 point spread in favor of the Cheesemen, the Green Bay Packers. And I'm kind of riding with the Packers on this one myself too. Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. Come on, man. Come on. Moving it down to tomorrow's games. We're going to talk a little bit about those as well. Sunday, 3 p.m. at Raymond James Stadium here in Tampa Bay. We've got the Rams visiting the Buccaneers. We talked about it the last time these two teams met was earlier this season with the Rams coming out on top. What do you guys think of this one, though? Is Tom Brady going to exact revenge? It's hard to beat Brady and the Buccaneers twice. It is hard. I mean, the Saints did it last year in 2 regular season games, but then Brady got his revenge in the playoffs, right? Sending Drew Brees into retirement, beating New Orleans on his way to a historical Super Bowl winning season. So we've got 48.5 points on the board, 3-point spread in favor of the home team, the Buccaneers, 58-degree weather with 11-mile-per-hour winds. I was there for the game last week, Eagles at Buccaneers. We had a little bit of crazy weather, man. It was sunny, cold. Then it was cloudy, windy, a little bit of rain made appearance. Then it went away. And then the sun came back. It was all over the place. The weather in Florida can be kind of crazy sometimes. But anyway, we'll get into that game as well. And then 6:30 p.m. tomorrow, Sunday, Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. We've got Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. We talked about the Pat Mahomes free square, 0.5 passing yard prop. Like I said, you can put up to $20 on this promo. No-brainer play right there. You got to take the over. All right. 53.5 points, 1.5 point spread. This game, I don't know what's going to happen here. I really don't. 35-degree weather, though, in Kansas City. And then you got 3-mile-per-hour winds. So passing game should definitely be in play here. I'm not worried about the wind or weather or any of that playing a factor. We should be able to see two of the guys, best quarterbacks in the league, airing things out, using that right arm and slinging that football all around. All right, so that's the breakdown of the games. Now we're going to get into some passing yard props. Starting things off here with the GOAT, Tom Brady, 283.5 passing yards. It's a low number, folks, because I'm seeing him on most of your sports books out there at 288, 285.5, 290 in some places. So we're definitely seeing some value here of 5 to 10 yards, depending on what site you're comparing to. Now, Tom Brady over the last 5 games has covered this prop in 2 out of 5 games. 2 out of 5 games. So 40% hit rate, not great. He had 271 yards in what was pretty much a blowout against Philadelphia. I expect this game to stay a lot closer. I expect Brady and the Buccaneers to have their foot firmly on the gas. They can't afford for Tom Brady to be complacent. They can't afford for him to just hand the ball off. They're going to have to score as many points as they humanly can. All right. So I'm liking some Tom Brady over on passing yards. I got him projected for over 314 passing yards. That's according to The Blitz by Derek Carty, one of the best NFL projection models, projection systems out there. They have Brady going for over 314 passing yards at this moment. So things are looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and head over to Fantasy Labs. Now, Fantasy Labs is fantastic too because they've got 2 really sharp guys in charge of their models. And I'm talking about Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon. So we've got the Sean Kerner projections, the Chris Raybon projections. What we're going to do is combine the 2 by using consensus projections. So it aggregates both of their projections. And when we do that, we see Tom Brady's at 287.5 passing yards, which again, both models, the Blitz, Fantasy Labs, they like the over on Tom Brady at 283.5, and I think that I do too. Now, let's go take a look at this matchup here and see how many passing yards per game that this Los Angeles Rams team is giving up to opposing quarterbacks this season. You can do this by going to pro-football-reference.com. All right, totally free site for you to get this information. So we're going to try and sort things here. If I can quit clicking on everything. There we go. We got it figured out. The Los Angeles Rams, pretty stout defense. They're not, somebody that you typically like to target passers against. They're giving up about 261 passing yards per game. So I know that's less than the 283.5 of Brady's line, but still, I think there's a good shot that Brady's going to have to just keep passing the ball. Now, one other thing that we could do, we do this and we use this in our NBA videos rather. We can go Tom Brady passing yards over on StatMuse versus Rams logs. If I could spell logs right. You got to spell things right. The last time that he faced the Rams, September 26th of last year, 432 passing yards against this Rams team. So yeah, I think there's some passing yard upside here for Tom Brady for sure. So liking the over on Tom Brady at 283.5. Who else is standing out? The Brady is probably representing the largest edge according to the Blitz projection tools. Maybe you look Aaron Rodgers' way. I know earlier in the week they had a little bit of a promotion or discount on Aaron Rodgers and his passing yards. I think they marked him down to like 225. He had just 138 passing yards against Detroit in his last game. Listen, I've got Rodgers going for 271.5 passing yards, which is about 20 yards higher than where he's at on PrizePicks. We're also seeing his line on various other sports betting sites at 263, 264 passing yards. So I feel like this number is definitely some value here. Definitely some value for Aaron Rodgers. Let's go take a look at the models over on Fantasy Labs. And let's narrow this down. We got him at 265.5. So again, both models, the Blitz and Fantasy Labs, liking the over on Aaron Rodgers' passing attack. It's going to be ice cold there. Doesn't look like the wind's going to play a major factor. So I think Rodgers will have plenty of opportunities to throw the football around. Now let's look at this matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. They are a good defense. They are or have been a tough defense over the course of the season. They're giving up about 225 passing yards per game to opposing passers. That is the 6th fewest. So a little bit of pause, a little bit of cause for concern potentially if you're looking to take the over on Aaron Rodgers. Both projection systems, though, I trust them quite a bit, do like Aaron Rodgers to go over. And in case you were wondering how Aaron Rodgers has performed against San Francisco in the past, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Aaron Rodgers passing yards versus 49ers logs. So you can see how many times he's actually covered 251.5. He's gone over here, over here, over, over, over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of what? 9? Going all the way back to 2009. This guy's been playing football for a long time. So yeah, he might be playing with a little chip on his shoulder. If you remember correctly, the San Francisco 49ers drafted Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers in that draft. And it seems like Aaron Rodgers has been trying to make them pay for that mistake over the course of his career. What are you guys thinking about Aaron Rodgers here? We going over on the passing yards? You fading it? You taking the under? What are we thinking? What are we feeling here? Good to see some of you other folks joining into the chat today. Shot by Tree. Haven't seen you in a minute. How you been, brother? Hope you're doing well. Patrick Brown says, bro, you are the PRA god. He played a 5-pick PRA from yesterday. Players mentioned from yesterday's live stream and ended up hitting, man. A 10X for Pat Brown. Love it. Listen, you want to say thank you? Join Patreon. Be a part of the community. We would love to have you up in there, Patrick. All right, folks. Those are your probably your top 2 passing yard props. The ones that I'm seeing the biggest edges on. Obviously, Pat Mahomes isn't over at 0.5 passing yards. Brady and Rodgers, hard to bet against those 2 guys, but I think both of them are in play as well. So let's move it on over to some rushing yards, specifically looking at running back rushing yards. So let me get things dialed in. While I do that, if you have not dropped a like on today's stream, I'd appreciate it quite a bit, really, truthfully. I would really, really appreciate you liking today's stream. Or disliking it. I don't care. You guys can vote it down if you're not liking it. Either which way, all the engagement helps. The likes and the dislikes, okay? Do whatever you want to do. I'm not here to tell you what to do. All right, starting things off with some rushing yard props here, folks. The one that's really catching my eye right now and seems to have the biggest edge right now, the biggest edge according to the Blitz projection systems by my man, DC, Derek Carty. It's going to be this guy, Joe Mixon, at 55.5 rushing yards. I'm seeing his rushing yard line on some other sites at 58.5 and even as high as 60.5 rushing yards. So we're getting value here of 3 to 5 yards in comparison. Now, looking at his projection, I got him projected for 77.3 rushing yards, which puts him over 55.5 by more than 22 yards. So that presents about a 30 to 35% edge in our favor, according to the Blitz projection system. So we'll flip things back over here. We'll look at some of the rushing yards projections, starting things off with Joe Mixon. They've got him projected over on Fantasy Labs for 65 rushing yards. So both models liking the over on Joe Mixon against this Tennessee Titans team. 77 on the Blitz, 65 over on Fantasy Labs. So I'm seeing some pretty significant edges here for the over on Joe Mixon. Now, we can't stop there. We can't just hang our hats on these projections. We have to go further, and we will go further by using Pro Football Reference to take a look at this matchup against the Tennessee Titans. We can do that by looking at how many rushing yards per game that they're giving up to opposing running backs this season. So we go all the way down here to the very bottom. They're the second most difficult team in the league against the run. The number 1 team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who is also going to be playing this weekend. So Tennessee's run defense giving up about 64 rushing yards per game to opposing tailbacks. So it's not going to be an easy matchup by any means. So despite the fact that he is a projection darling, they love him. The projections are loving him. They like him to go over 55.5. A little cause for concern here. All right. A little bit of cause for concern with Joe Mixon. Now let's just take a look here. Maybe we have some game logs. Joe Mixon rushing yards versus the Titans logs. See what happens. One career game, and it was all the way back in 2017 against Tennessee, had just 37 rushing yards. All right, we're going to take that and throw it out. That doesn't mean a whole lot, right? But what we can go ahead and say is that the projections love Joe Mixon. He's gone over in 3 out of his last 5 games, 60% hit rate, averaging just 55 rushing yards per game, though. So it might be tough sledding here for Joe Mixon, despite the fact that the models are in love with the guy. All right. Another guy that's standing out to me, according to the Blitz projection system and EV analytics, is A.J. Dillon. I see some of you folks already talking about A.J. A.J. Dillon in the chat. So let's go ahead and discuss the Green Bay Packers tailback here. He's up at 38.5 rushing yards right now on PrizePicks. And when you open it up here and you look at the last 5 games for A.J. Dillon, he's gone over 38.5 rushing yards in 4 out of 5 games. Do you guys think Green Bay has more of a balanced approach, passing and rushing? Do you think that they go more pass heavy or more run heavy with the conditions in Green Bay being icy cold? I don't know. What do you guys think? I can tell you this, A.J. Dillon's rushing yard prop at 38.5 is a pretty sharp number. I am seeing him as high as 40.5 and 39.5 rushing yards on some books, so maybe 1 to 2 yards difference, but not a huge difference in where the lines makers on PrizePicks have him versus the lines makers out on some of these sportsbook sites. The projections for A.J. Dillon got him going for slightly more than 45 rushing yards, nearly 46 rushing yards against San Francisco. So the numbers not looking bad here when we're considering the projections. Let's go ahead and take a look at A.J. Dillon on Fantasy Labs. Again, using the Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon models. We combine the two to get a consensus projection ranking. I got A.J. Dillon projected for 42 rushing yards. So 42 rushing yards on Fantasy Labs, and I've got him at 45 rushing yards over on the Blitz. Both sites like him to go over his prop line of 38.5. He's been taking on a larger and larger share of the carries from Aaron Jones as well. So I think there is a little bit of credibility here to possibly taking him in and over. So let's go ahead and find the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to take a look at the matchup here and see how good they are against the run this season. And they're pretty darn good, guys. Top 10 team when it comes to stopping opposing running backs on the ground. 76.6 rushing yards allowed per game. So there's some upside here for Dillon at just 38.5. He needs 39 or more rushing yards against San Francisco. Now we could do what we've done with some of these other players, and we could go look at A.J. Dillon's historical performances against San Francisco. We do that by doing A.J. Dillon rushing yards versus 49ers logs. And he's got just one game in his game logs. This was from September 26th of last season, or last year, I should say. Last year at San Francisco, had 18 rushing yards on 6 attempts, just 3 yards per carry. Now, like I said, his role here with the Green Bay Packers has grown immensely since September 26th. So, again, I'd probably crumble that one up and toss it aside as well. Overall, though, looking like a pretty good spot maybe for A.J. Dillon. Who else is standing out here? Do we trust Cam Akers just yet? Cam Akers at 45.5 rushing yards. Listen, against Arizona, pretty decent defense in their own right. 55 rushing yards in his first game. Was that his first game? I think it was his first game, wasn't it? I mean, I'm looking at these game logs and they're kind of throwing me for a loop. I'm pretty sure that was his first game back, right? I don't know. Anyway, Cam Akers. I got him projected for 56.3 rushing yards, which is more than 45.5. 47.5 on most of your sports books out there. So we're seeing about a 2-yard difference here on PrizePicks. PrizePicks coming in a little bit low at 45.5. So let's go take a look at his projection over on Fantasy Labs. We've already talked about the Blitz. They like the over on Cam Akers. I got him projected for 51 rushing yards. So seeing an over option here on both sites. Both respected projection models here like him to go over. 56 on the Blitz, 51 on Fantasy Labs, and he had 55 against Arizona last week. So it's going to be a tough matchup here. We talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the number 1 team against the run in all of the NFL, giving up just 63.7 rushing yards per game to opposing tailbacks. First fewest. The most difficult run defense in the NFL. So Cam Akers, projections love him. They loved Joe Mixon too against Tennessee. But we know that the matchup here, at least on paper, is going to be a difficult one. We could go ahead and take a look here at any previous games that Cam Akers may have had against the Bucs. Maybe it'll shine a little light here on the situation. Cam Akers rushing yards versus the Bucs. He had one game against the Buccaneers in his career, and it was back on November 23rd. Had 5 carries for just 15 yards. So again, probably take that, throw it away. All right, not a reliable game sample or game log. role is a lot different now, safe to say. All right, another guy that's going to probably draw a lot of attention. This dude, we talked about him making his return. He's got a bionic foot. He's got plates and screws. What do you give the biggest, baddest running back in the NFL? You give him titanium plates and rods and screws in his feet. That could be dangerous. Imagine him doing one of those Hulk Hogan big boots. Throw somebody off the rope, lifts that foot up in the air, and bam! You catch a titanium plated foot from King Henry. Wouldn't that suck? That would be terrible. Derrick Henry at 81.5 rushing yards. Kind of a wild card play here, right? We're not sure what to expect with a surgically repaired foot, but I can tell you this, lines makers on some of your sports books out there have him as high as 85.5. I'm seeing him at 89.5. So we're getting anywhere from 4 to 8 yards of rushing value here on this prop. Derrick Henry projected for 99.5 rushing yards according to the Blitz. 99.5 rushing yards. About 18 yards more than his line of 81.5. Now you look at his last 5 games, they look fantastic, but obviously he's been out since October 31st. So that's why I say it's a wild card play. Not really sure what to expect here. Let's pull a projection up on Fantasy Labs, see if they're taking a more conservative number on Henry. Not really. Not really. They got him at 90 rushing yards, 85.5 rushing yards across 4 different sports books. So we are seeing that value like I talked about. Let's go look at this matchup here for Derrick Henry going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati's run D, not as difficult as some of these other teams we've talked about. They're giving up 83 rushing yards per game this season to opposing running backs. So a couple yards more than where Henry's line is set at 81.5. And if you want, we could take a step further here and see if Derrick Henry's got any game logs versus Cincinnati. Don't know how much this is going to help, but we're going to take a look anyway because I'm curious. All right, in two career games, one in 2017, one in 2020, Henry has racked up 52 rushing yards and 112 rushing yards, respectively. So he's got one game where he's gone way over and one game where he has gone way under. So you guys fading Derrick Henry at just 81.5 rushing yards, or are you going to take a shot and see what type of condition Derrick Henry's in? I don't know. I'm going to probably take the wait and see approach just because I'm more of a risk adverse type of person personally. Another guy maybe you consider here is Devin Singletary at 57.5 rushing yards. Listen, over his last 5 games, things have been looking quite good here for Devin Singletary. He's gone over 57.5 in 4 out of his last 5 games while averaging nearly 81 rushing yards per game. I'm seeing his rushing yard prop on several different sites at 60.5, about 3 yards higher than PrizePicks, meaning we're getting 3 yards of value on PrizePicks at 57.5, which you love to see. You love to see the value. I got Singletary at 66.8 rushing yards according to the Blitz, putting him at, about 9 yards more, 9 yards higher than where he is at on PrizePicks. Let's take a look at his number on Fantasy Labs. I got him at 62 rushing yards. So both sites, again, in agreement that the 57.5, a little too low for Devin Singletary. Let's go look at the matchup here. He's taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City's run defense giving up over 91 rushing yards per game. So for me, it's going to be a matter of, does Buffalo's defense step up, slow Patrick Mahomes down? We saw what Pat Mahomes did in his last game. Dude went nuclear, went crazy in his last game. Does the Buffalo Bills defense have enough to kind of keep Mahomes and that passing attack in check so that they don't have to go pass happy and abandon the run? If the game can stay close and competitive, then Singletary should get enough touches in what looks like a pretty decent matchup here against the Chiefs. What are you guys thinking? You buying or you selling Devin Singletary over 57.5 rushing yards? Let's go take a look here using StatMuse. We're going to go Singletary rushing yards versus Chiefs. See what kind of historical success or failure that he's had against Kansas City. Well, he's got 2 previous game logs. One back from 2020, another one back from 2021. And in those games, 25 and 32 rushing yards respectively. So hasn't had a ton of success, but lately. His workload way up. All right. So I wouldn't, be too concerned with what he's done in the past. Is kind of what I'm saying. All right. So that's enough about the rushing yard props. Let's take a look at some of these receiving yard props. And we're going to stick to looking at wide receivers. Maybe we'll dabble. Maybe we'll get into some tight ends. We've got some good tight ends coming up. So let's start things off with sort of the top wide receiver options when it comes to receiving yards. Appreciate everybody joining me this morning. How long has the show been on? Approximately 30 minutes. We've covered passing yard props. We've covered some rushing yard props. And now we're going to look at some receiving yard props. So you've missed a little bit, Nick, but you haven't missed a ton. More to come. All right, looking at some receiving yard props. Who is popping off here? Now, the last time I did one of these live streams, I warned you guys, there's going to be some names that you're going to see that will make you feel a little uncomfortable. You know, they're not your household names. You guys want to probably talk about Jamar Chase. You guys probably want to talk about A.J. Brown. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about Mike Williams or Deebo Samuel. Or Mike Williams, not Mike Williams. Mike Evans and Deebo Samuel. Probably want to talk about some Cooper Kupp. You know, you want to go to the plays, the plays that feel safe and cozy inside. Do you feel safe and cozy with Randall Cobb? Maybe you should. Maybe you should consider it. He's at 22.5 receiving yards. We talked about liking Aaron Rodgers over his passing yard prop. Well, he's going to have to throw it to somebody. And it looks like, according to the Blitz projection systems here, that somebody very well could be this guy, Randall Cobb. He's at 22.5 receiving yards. I'm seeing him as high as 26.5 and 25.5 receiving yards on some of the sports books out there. So we're seeing 4 or 5 yards of value. Now, the reason we're talking about Randall Cobb is because at 41.5 projected receiving yards, that's almost 20 yards higher than where he's at on PrizePicks. 57% or more edge. Probably like a 60% edge, quite honestly. So, Randall Cobb here, we're going to pull up a projection for him over on Fantasy Labs. So far, the Blitz loving some Cobb. Loving some Randall Cobb. And it looks like Fantasy Labs is kind of in line with it too. 27.4 projected receiving yards. So both of these projection systems, projection models, liking the over on Randall Cobb at just 22.5. He had 95 receiving yards back on November 28th. So we're not quite sure what to expect, but he does have some games in his last 5 games. Kansas City, he had 50 receiving yards. Where he's popped. Let's go take a look at this matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to click the wide receiver position. This is how you can use Pro Football Reference to dig a little bit deeper. You click toggle per game stats, and then you go take a look at how many receiving yards that they're allowing per game to opposing wide receivers. Once you get that sorted out, go find San Francisco. San Francisco has given up about 161.5 receiving yards per game to opposing wideouts, which puts them right there around the top 10 most receiving yards allowed. So this is a good matchup for Randall Cobb. So he's definitely a name to consider. I know. He's not the sexiest name in the book, but neither was this guy. Neither was this guy last week, right? Emmanuel Sanders. And I know we talked about him on stream. I know we talked about him in the Super Wildcard Weekend show that we did last week. He was at 22.5 last time, I believe. And he ended up with 36 receiving yards against New England. So he covered his prop. So as much as you guys probably don't want to click these names and hit over on them, they do hit. They do hit their props. So looking at Emmanuel Sanders again today because he's popping once again in the Blitz projection systems. Emmanuel Sanders against the Kansas City Chiefs, seeing his line at 25.5 receiving yards, even as high as 26.5 receiving yards. So 3, 4, 5 yards of value here on PrizePicks. I've got Sanders projected for nearly 34 receiving yards. If you guys have picks and plays, by the way, hold them down. And after I'm done running through what looks good based on like projections and matchups and things like that, then I'll take your favorite prop questions and stuff at the end of the show, like we do for NBA. Cool? Cool. That way I don't have to scroll back through the chat and look for your picks and all that stuff. It'd make it a little easier. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, Emmanuel Sanders projected for about 34 receiving yards according to the blitz. So things are looking nice. Real nice here for Manny Sanders. Got him at 30.5 over on Fantasy Labs. So once again, both of the projection models are aligned. They like the over on 22.5. Let's look at this matchup here against Kansas City for Emmanuel Sanders and see how the Chiefs have done against opposing wide receivers in the yardage category. They're giving up about 158.1 receiving yards per game, which puts them like top 12 to 15 range. I ain't going to count them all out, but pretty decent matchup here for Emmanuel Sanders. Now, I know that he's probably faced Kansas City a number of times, so let's see if we could pull it up here. Emmanuel Sanders versus Chiefs logs. And the last time that he faced Kansas City was 10-10-21. He ended up getting targeted 5 times, pulling in 3 of those targets for 54 receiving yards. Oh, and he had 2 receiving touchdowns. Pretty strong day for him there. So that is the only game log as a member of the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. He did cover his receiving yards prop with 54 receiving yards. So I think Emmanuel Sanders deserves some consideration. Both models are loving the over on Emmanuel Sanders. What about his teammate, Cole Beasley, 25.5 receiving yards. Not a great game last week against New England for Mr. Beasley. Had just 19 receiving yards. But you look at the last 5 games, he has covered this prop in 3 out of 5. 60% hit rate for the Bee's Knees, Cole Beasley. I don't think anybody calls him that but me. Pretty cringy, man. I can do better. Cole Beasley at 25.5. I'm seeing his receiving yard line 27.5. 29.5, 30.5 on some books. So we're definitely getting some value here of anywhere up to 5 receiving yards lower on PrizePicks. Now, I'm talking about Beasley because I got him projected for 10 more receiving yards than where he's at on PrizePicks. Over 35 receiving yards according to the Blitz projection system. Let's go take a look at him over on the Fantasy Labs models. Got Beasley at 22.3. So in this case, these two projection systems do not align. They disagree on Cole Beasley. One's got him going over, being the Blitz. One's got him going under. So for me, I'd feel more safe, more comfortable, more cozy with Emmanuel Sanders at 22.5 than I would with Cole Beasley at 25.5. So I'm going to call that one a fade. We won't go any further with that pick. Who else is standing out? Well, we mentioned Mike Evans earlier. Finally, we get a noteworthy top tier wide receiving talent to talk about. Mike Evans. Is he not on the board? Did they really not put Mike Evans on the board? Oh, there he is. Oh, you almost had me, PrizePicks. About to say, how do you not have Mike Evans on the board after what he did to my Eagles last week, going for 117 receiving yards against a pretty decent Philadelphia Eagles pass defense? Now, I'm seeing Mike Evans at 65.5 on PrizePicks, which is entirely too low. We're getting him at 69.5, 70.5, even as high as 74.5 on some of these sites. A lot of value here in this receiving yard prop. Of course, the Buccaneers receiving core pretty beat up. Chris Godwin out for the season. We all know about Antonio Brown. No secret what his situation is. So Mike Evans in the first game without Antonio Brown. Maybe it was the second game. Check that. Second game without Antonio Brown. The first game without Brown, he went for 89 against Carolina. The second game without Antonio Brown went for 117 receiving yards. So back-to-back weeks of covering this prop of 65.5. Now the projection for Mike Evans, 83.5 receiving yards according to the Blitz. 83.5 versus 65.5. Yes, sir. Sign me up. I like the way that looks. Got him projected for 69.7. So nearly 70 receiving yards according to Fantasy Labs. So both models in this case liking the over on Mike Evans at 65.5. Now let's go take a look at this matchup against the Los Angeles Rams here. They're giving up over 173 receiving yards per game, the 4th most to opposing wide receivers. Do we think that he gets shadowed in this game? Did we think Jalen Ramsey is going to be blanketing Mike Evans? Anybody got any intel on that? Will we see a shadow assignment? Jalen Ramsey, Mike Evans. Let us know, chat, if you have any information on that. Otherwise, let's go take a look at how Mike Evans has done versus this Rams team, because I know we got some pretty recent game logs in there. So we go Mike Evans versus Rams logs. September 26th of last year. Targeted 10 times. Caught 8 balls for 106 yards. That is good for an over. Of course, we talked about Tom Brady went for over 400 passing yards in that game. That's what I hope for in this game. Mike Evans getting targeted 10 times. Let's go. Let's go. Looking back at some of these other games here, 11-23, 2020, targeted 9 times, caught 5 balls for 49 yards. He had 89 yards, 132, 157, and 49. So he's gone over 65.5 receiving yards in like 4 out of 6 games versus the Rams. You guys are fading Mike Evans. You think Jalen Ramsey's going to shut Mike Evans down? Wow. I think on volume alone that Mike Evans could potentially get there. Who watched that game? Because I was at the game. Who watched that game last week? I was at the game, but when you're up high, you can't really see what's going on down there. How much did Darius Slay match up with Mike Evans last week? Mike Evans, like I said, had a huge game, 117 receiving yards. How much did Big Play Slay line up on Mike Evans for any of you that were watching at home? Like I said, I was up in like the 300 section looking down. I couldn't really quite see who was on who from up there, truth be told. Aaron Rodgers is letting us know that Darius Slay was on him on the outside. Now, Slay is no bum. He may not be Jalen Ramsey level when it comes to a cover corner. But Slay's pretty good, right? You guys are saying that Slay was on Evans quite a bit. Those of you who were able to watch the game up close in HD, unlike myself. Okay, interesting. Just an interesting thing that I wanted to bring up and wanted to talk about. You guys are saying that Jalen Ramsey does not travel with the number 1 wide receiver on the opposing team. Okay. All right. You guys are talking Ramsey lockdown. So you're not liking the Mike Evans prop at 65.5. You think are you going to go under on it? If you don't like it, if you think for those of you who don't like it, and you think Ramsey's going to lock him up, are you going to go under on Mike Evans, or are you just going to fade it? Do you feel better about fading it rather than taking an under? Let me know how you're going to play this prop. I think it's pretty good. I think that Tom Brady's going to have to throw the ball, and I'd like to see him hit some Mike Evans. All right, let's talk about another marquee name here. We got Stefon Diggs going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. He's at 67.5 receiving yards, but this is a value play because we're seeing him at 69.5, 70.5, even 72.5 receiving yards on a number of other sites. So we're getting some yardage here in our favor, some value in our favor on PrizePicks. Shout out to PrizePicks, man. Giving us some value. Love it. Got him projected for 81.7 receiving yards. 81.7 receiving yards. How about this question? You liking Stefon Diggs over receiving yards more than Mike Evans? Which one do you feel more comfortable about? Ponder that while we look into this a little bit further. So far, the Blitz loving the over on Stefon Diggs. I got him projected for 72.6, which is still an over, not quite as big of an over as the Blitz, but both sites, both projection models liking the over on Stefon Diggs here. Let's go look at this matchup against Kansas City. We've already talked about it a little bit. They're not a defense that we're really worried about. They give up 158.1 passing yards, or receiving yards, I should say, receiving yards per game to opposing wide receivers. You're not liking, JW says he's not liking Mike Evans or Stefon Diggs over receiving yards. Interesting. Some of you, including Desmond, is liking Diggs more than Mike Evans. Okay. Nick is liking some Mike Evans. McNasty's going over on Mike Evans. You're going to fade. King United's going to fade Mike Evans over receiving yards. All right. All right. All right, let's go take a look at the matchup here. We've got Stefon Diggs going up against Kansas City. Let's see how he's done over the course of his career. Stefon Diggs, as recently as 10-10-21 against Kansas City, was targeted 5 times, caught 2 balls for 69 yards, just barely enough to get over 67.5. If we go back to 10-19-2020 against Kansas City, he was targeted 8 times, caught 6 balls, but managed just 46 receiving yards. Did find the end zone, though. He did get in the end zone. 1 career touchdown, it looks like, against this Kansas City Chiefs team. So, Diggs, since joining the Bills, 1 out of 2 games, he has covered 67.5 receiving yards versus Kansas City. All right. So enough about those receiving yard props. All right, we've talked about it last week for Super Wildcard Weekend. I told you guys I don't really typically ever find a ton of value here on these receptions props, but I will be happy to take your questions. For now, we'll skip over those. Let's look at these touchdown props. Now, my man Brett Johnson, aka the headlines maker for NFL over on PrizePicks, put something out there today that we should all be cognizant of and aware of. Normally, when it comes to quarterbacks, we get these quarterbacks in their own little category of passing touchdowns. Look what they've done this week, though, and it's worth noting, worth mentioning. They've put these quarterbacks under just the any kind of touchdown category. Meaning a guy like Ryan Tannehill, who is kind of a dual threat, right? He can throw for a touchdown. He would also get credit if he ran a touchdown in, which is unique. Normally, PrizePicks doesn't do this. Normally, like I said, you'd find Ryan Tannehill over there under the passing touchdown category. But there is no passing touchdown category this week. These are any kind of touchdowns. So maybe Derrick Henry throws a touchdown to Ryan Tannehill and he catches it. That would count. Just throwing out a wild scenario. But Ryan Tannehill at 1.5 touchdowns. Kind of interesting, right? Because he can run it in, throw it either which way. Same thing with Josh Allen. We know Josh Allen's got wheels. How many combined touchdowns will Josh Allen have? So I want to bring that to your attention. Because normally, these guys are up under passing touchdowns. We don't get them under any kind of touchdown. So very interesting that they've done that. I think it is in our favor that they've done that, and that we should probably look at these a little bit closer this time around. So, pretty cool. Thanks for doing that for us, PrizePicks. Let's go ahead and refresh the blitz projection systems here so that we can take a look at some of these touchdown props. Let's look at Josh Allen first. So I've got Josh Allen projected for 2.1 passing touchdowns. So he's going to need 3 touchdowns to go over this prop. But I got him at 2.1 passing touchdowns right now and 0.29 rushing touchdowns. So when you combine the two, he's still under 2.5 total touchdowns, right? So I don't know that I'm on that one necessarily. Let's take a look here. Maybe we've got some other passing touchdowns. Let's go Allen. Fantasy Labs got him projected at 2 passing touchdowns. Wonder what his rushing touchdown prop is at. No projection for that. So just 2. So for me, I'm probably going to stay off of Josh Allen, but I think there's a real shot that maybe he gets it done. Let's take a look at something here. Josh Allen versus Chiefs logs. So he's got 2 career games versus Kansas City. Last time these two teams met, 10-10-21, he had 3 passing touchdowns. 3 passing touchdowns. The previous time, 10-19-2020, had 2 passing touchdowns. I don't see any rushing yard props or rushing yard stats on him. Let's see. Josh Allen rushing touchdowns versus Chiefs. Okay. So he actually had a rushing touchdown. He combined for 4 touchdowns against Kansas City in the last game that they met. So, I don't know. I know he's not projected to go over 2.5, but he has, that type of upside to go for 3 or more touchdowns. Let's go back to the blitz here. Let's take a look at a guy like Patty Mahomes. They got Pat Mahomes projected for 2.2 passing touchdowns and 0.24 rushing touchdowns. So that would put him at 2.45 combined touchdowns. Put him really close to this 2.5 number. Now we could do a little bit of a deeper dive on this as well. We could do Patrick Mahomes versus Bills logs. 2 career games versus Buffalo. He had 2 passing touchdowns back on 10-19-20. And then on 10-10-21, he had 2 passing touchdowns. So let's check and see if he had any rushing touchdowns. No career rushing touchdowns versus the Bills. So he's went under in 2 previous matchups versus Buffalo, under 2.5 total touchdowns. All right. So kind of answer some of your questions, hopefully, on some of these touchdowns. Other ones that we'll just quickly look through. Ryan Tannehill projected for 1.6 passing touchdowns and 1.23 rushing touchdowns. That's kind of why I mentioned him first, because I think he could definitely find 2 or more touchdowns. He'd probably be one of my more favorite options here. Let's see what we got for Tanny. Tanny's projected for about 1.5 passing touchdowns. Maybe he finds, a rushing touchdown as well. I don't know. All right, let's look at the running backs here, because these guys also qualify for rushing or receiving touchdowns, or like Derrick Henry, I think he threw a touchdown at one point, right, in the playoffs. So we'll go over to the running back position. We'll filter out everything else. We'll go take a look at who are the top projected rushing touchdown guys. 0.95 for Derrick Henry. Do we have him up? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Derrick Henry at 0.5 rushing touchdowns. Got it projected for 0.95 rushing touchdowns. Looking pretty good here. Pretty good if you're wanting to take an over on a touchdown prop. He might be the one that you take. No projection on Fantasy Labs. Okay. But the Blitz likes him at 0.95. So they have him really, really close to 1 rushing touchdown. What we can do here is we could go to the running back position. Toggle per game stats. Then we'll head on over to the rushing touchdowns allowed by the opponent, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're giving up about 0.76 rushing touchdowns per game. That's more than 0.5. I can, at least give you that. So I don't mind you taking the over on Derrick Henry's rushing touchdowns. He's the only running back, the only rushing touchdown prop on the board. The rest of these qualify for any kind of touchdown, rushing, receiving, you name it. Other guys that maybe you should consider, we got Devin Singletary at 0.44 rushing touchdowns, and got him projected for 0.15 receiving. So that puts him slightly over the 0.5. Don't know that I love that quite as much. Deebo Samuel, he'll probably be a very popular option. Let's go take a look at the wide receiver position. We'll go to rushing touchdowns first. 0.24 projected rushing touchdowns for Deebo Samuel. This thing would just stop jumping around on me. And then I got him at 0.32 receiving touchdowns. So a combined 0.56 projected touchdowns for Deebo Samuel. All right. So those are some of your options, some things to consider there. Let's see. What else? What other props we want to talk about? We talked about some any touchdowns. We talked about some rushing touchdowns, like in Derrick Henry there. Do we want to look at receiving touchdowns? Man, they're giving us Cooper Kupp. Ooh, we got to talk about Cooper Kupp. Let's look at Cooper Kupp real quick. Cooper Kupp's receiving touchdowns, 0.64. Stephon Diggs, 0.64. Devontae Adams, 0.65. Those are your top 3. Tyreek Hill also up here at 0.57. Mike Evans, 0.54. So the best edge, or the best prop here for a receiving touchdown is probably going to be Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams would probably be the best one, according to the Blitz, for a over on a receiving touchdown prop. Where I do have found some value in the past is on pass completions. So we'll quickly look at those, and then I'll start taking some of your questions on, whatever type of prop questions you might have from this NFL game. Appreciate you all rocking with me. Thank you so much for all the likes, man. Keep hitting that like button. If you haven't yet, you still got time. Hit a like for your boy. Looking at some of these completion props, let's see the ones that have the biggest edges, the ones that are standing out the most. Looks like they got them pretty well dialed in here. I got Tom Brady at 27.2. So that's more than 26, obviously. Maybe you take the over on Tom Brady. Let's go take a look at his passing completions here. Yeah, they got him at 26.3 on Fantasy Labs. So both sites liking the over on Tom Brady. Who else? They got a pretty sharp number here on Matt Stafford. Probably not interested in him. Tannehill, no, not looking like a great number on him either. Garoppolo, I've actually got Garoppolo projected at 18.7, so maybe you go under on Garoppolo at 20. Let's check him out here on Fantasy Labs. Yeah, I got him at 20.4, but he's at 19.5 on most sports books. At 19.5 passing completions, he is a betting favorite to go over, which is why PrizePicks has probably bumped him up to 20. Cliff is talking about he's liking some over on Tom Brady pass completions, under on Jimmy G's pass completions. Yeah, they're betting it up at 19.5, so PrizePicks bumped him up to 20. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's about it, man. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'll take a few of your questions. We won't keep this as long as the NBA live streams, but yeah, we'll get you up out of here. So Cliff's liking the Deebo Samuel rushing touchdown. All right, Cliff. Can't be mad at you on that one. Mariota threw a touchdown to himself in the playoffs. Does that cover the 1.5? I think that would count. I think that might count. Does he get credit for 2 touchdowns? Is that what you're asking there? Does he get credit for both a passing and a receiving touchdown? I don't know. I'm not sure. Trader Boggs is asking, first half under on wide receivers for the Titans because Henry is back and will take away from the pass game. Listen, you could go there. I wonder if we can pull some sort of information on that up here. Let's take a look. So AJ Brown, 35.5. Julio Jones, 20.5. So you're asking, should we be going under? Let's take a look. AJ Brown, first half receiving yards with Derrick Henry logs. Damn it. Sorry, I can't answer questions about quarters and halves yet. So it's not like the NBA where we're able to do like first half FanDuel points or first half rebounds or something like that. Unfortunately, can't get that information on StatMuse. So I wish I could answer that question for you. But in theory, I think I like where you're going with it. First half under, some Tennessee receiving yard props. I don't mind that. I don't hate that idea. Just scrolling up a little bit here, I see DeMarcus is asking about some Josh Allen rushing yards. Do you guys like taking overs on quarterback rushing yards? I mean, typically, just in general. I mean, I've done it in the past and it's worked out. So like somebody like Pat Mahomes, I've taken him quite a bit. He's hit back when he was like 15.5 rushing yards. I used to take the over on him quite a bit. Josh Allen, you're talking about going over on his rushing yard prop, 46.5 projected rushing yards on PrizePicks. Let's take a look at this. So we go to the quarterback position. Let's go to rush yards, specifically Buffalo, Kansas City. I've actually got Josh Allen going for 41.4 rushing yards on the blitz, which would be an underplay. Now, he's already pretty low compared to most of your sports books out there. They've got him at 50.5, 51.5, even as high as 53.5. So he's coming in low at 46.5. But I've got him projected on the blitz to go for 41.4, which is even lower than 46.5, right? Obviously. Let's take a look at his projection here on Fantasy Labs. They got him going for 47. So slightly over 46.5. What you can do here is go to StatMuse and go Josh Allen rushing yards versus Chiefs logs. And you can see in 2 games against Kansas City, the most recent one, he went over 59 rushing yards against Kansas City in that one on 11 attempts. The game before that, back on 10-19-20, 42. So, I mean, yeah, I think there's a shot here. He's 50% and covering 46.5. It's been pretty close though. Pretty close in two career games versus Kansas City. Ray H, you're asking about tackles. I don't know. I typically just play offensive play. Oh my gosh, man. I'd never really get in here and look at these tackle props a whole lot, to be honest with you. There's a lot. There is a lot of them. Do they actually provide logs? Oh, they do. Well, they do give you some logs for them. I don't know that I can even like pull any type of like projections for tackles. Does not look like it's supported by Fantasy Labs. I could tell you that. Do I get tackle props through the blitz? I get defense. Let's take a look a little bit closer. Now, this is just team defense. Yeah, I don't think anybody out there supports any type of projections for tackle props. So you're really just going to have to kind of rely on maybe game script, how you think the game plays out. It's going to be more run heavy. Maybe there's more tackles when it's a run heavy approach. And then you're going to have to look at like historical data, how a player has done over the last 5 games, last 10 games when it comes to tackles. A little harder to research, I would say, tackle props are. Let's see what else you guys are talking about here. Yeah, you can pull it up on StatMuse, right? Like the game logs for tackles and stuff. But no, unfortunately, no projections. King United says he likes playing some interceptions. Let's look at those interceptions real quick. Who we got up here? We got Burrow, Tannehill, Garoppolo, Stafford, Brady, Allen, and Mahomes. So they set everybody up today. Everybody's at 0.5. 0.5. Let me see if I got any projections for you on these interceptions. Who's the guy that is most likely to throw a pick? The one that's really standing out to me is Matthew Stafford. If you're looking to go over on interceptions, this guy right here projected for about 1.2 picks, 1.2 interceptions. Let me see something here. All right. Yeah. We got something for you. Let's take a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Per game, they get about 1 interception per game against opposing quarterbacks. So he's projected to go over 0.5 interceptions. The Bucs get about 1 interception per game. So I think going over on Matthew Stafford's interceptions could be a good look for you interception lovers out there. Do I have a projection here? No, I don't. So the Blitz does support interception projections, and they like Matthew Stafford to throw at least 1. If you want to go INTs, Stafford could be a good look. Surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, they got Tom Brady projected for at least 1 INT. 1.07 projected interceptions for Brady. Let's go take a look at this one. The Rams defense actually getting more interceptions on a per game basis than the Bucs, 1.12. So both Brady and Stafford projected for at least 1 interception. Now we can go back and look at these. We can go Matthew Stafford INTs versus Bucs logs. Let's see if this works. So in his last meeting as a member of the Rams versus Tampa Bay, he actually did not throw an interception versus the Bucs the last time these two teams met. Did not throw an interception back on September 26, 2021, their previous matchup. So let's look at the other way around here. Tom Brady INTs versus Rams logs. He did not throw an interception on September 26, 2021, but he did throw 2 back on November 23rd, 2020. So 2 games as a member of the Bucs versus this Rams team. He has thrown 1 or more interception in 1 of those 2 games. But both defenses, 1 or more interceptions for both of them. Now, another guy that you can also throw in this list here is going to be Jimmy G. Garoppolo. He's thrown an interception in 3 straight games, folks. 2 against Tennessee, in fact, 2 against LA, 1 against Dallas. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo over interceptions. He's projected to throw at least 1. Could be a good look as well. A streak of 3 straight games throwing an INT. Let's look at this Green Bay Packers defense. Oh, yeah. Yep. Per game, they pick off opposing quarterbacks at 1.06 INTs per game. So there you go. Those are probably your top 3 options for an INT. Stafford and Brady, going to be throwing the football a lot. Jimmy G, just an interception machine. There you go. Let's see what else you guys are talking about here. DeMarcus is liking some Jimmy Garoppolo first half under on passing yards. Okay. Trader Boggs is mentioning Westbrook under first half receiving yards. Is that what you're talking about? I know you said passing yards, but I think you meant receiving yards, right? Should we go NFL first half, go receiving yards? And you're talking about this dude right here, huh? Nick Westbrook Akeen? Am I saying that right? 13.5. So you're saying going under 13.5 first half receiving yards? He says, look at his stats before week 8 when Henry was playing. Let's see if I can do that. I didn't understand your question. You didn't understand my question, or you didn't understand this guy's name? They don't know who this guy is. StatMuse has no idea who I'm asking about. Did that pull it? There we go. I had to leave that last part off. They don't even have a picture up for this guy. No artwork for him or anything. So you're saying look at his game logs. Well, I can't look at first half, unfortunately. We tried that. Failed miserably. But, yeah, I mean, doesn't get a whole lot of receptions. Doesn't get a whole lot of receiving yards. You said back before week 8. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, taking the under at 13.5 receiving yards looks like a good look. I mean, this guy had games of like 16, 14, and that's the entire game. 16, 14, 10. Now, my question is, with Julio Jones, A.J. Brown in the mix, I mean, he's got to take a back seat, right? Wouldn't you think? Derrick Henry's back. They're going to go more run heavy. I don't mind that, man. Trader Boggs, I don't mind where your head's at. Going under on Westbrook Akine receiving yards. I don't mind that. Very interesting. Nick is saying be careful with this prop, though, because he always catches a long pass in the first half. He's fast, and he's favored. Well, if it helps you out in any way, what I can do for you is pull a projection up for this guy. Got Westbrook at 25.3 projected receiving yards. So, I don't know. Do with that what you will. Desmond's up in here leaving a super chat. He's got an important question. He's liking some Jamar Chase over receptions. He gets 2 to 3 screens per game, typically easily. Tennessee is 8th worst in pass defense and allows 23 completions a game. At least 10 targets the last 3 full games. And by the way, like the video. Appreciate that, Desmond. Thank you once again for the super chat. 10 targets the last 3 full. I mean, that's pretty eye-opening. So you're liking him over his receptions prop. Let's take a look at that one a little bit closer for my man Desmond leaving the super chat. Appreciate that once again. Jamar Chase is at 6 receptions. You can kind of see here over the last 5 games, he's gone over 6 receptions in 3 out of 5 games. 3 out of 5. He's actually averaging exactly 6 receptions. Now let me pull something up here using the blitz. We'll go to the wide receiver spot. We'll go to receptions. And we'll go find my man Jamar Chase. I've got Jamar Chase projected for 5.5 receptions. But I will mention this. He's at both 5.5 and 6.5 receptions on 2 different sports books. So the fact that they're putting him at 6.5 on at least one site leads me to believe that there's a potential here for him to go for at least 7 receptions. At least 7 receptions. Now, we could take this a little further here. Let's take a look at the receptions for Chase. Fantasy Labs has him projected for 5.4. So both sites kind of agree around that 5.5 range, right? Which is a coin flip. It could go either way. He could go for 5 or he could go for 6. Let's look at this matchup here for wide receivers. We'll go per game stats and go take a look at the receptions column. Tennessee giving up 14.6 receptions per game to opposing wide receivers. That's the second most, gang. Second most. Now, I will say this. Obviously, there's Jamar Chase in the mix. You got T. Higgins. You got Tyler Boyd. There's 3 pretty prominent receivers. I would say that Jamar Chase is wide receiver 1 or wide receiver A, however you want to look at it. In other words, he's probably the top dog, right? We can kind of agree on that. But the fact that Tennessee's given up nearly 15 receptions per game to opposing wideouts, for me, I mean, there's upside here. Kind of like what you were saying. So, I like that. Trader Boggs leaving a little sticker up in here. He wants to see if we can check out some kickers. Like Cincinnati's kicker over 7.5. Is that fantasy points you're asking about specifically? I'm assuming that's fantasy points, right? Let's take a look. Cool. Yeah, let's look at them. Defense, where are they at? Defense, special team. I'm blind. I think I'm blind. Where are the kicker props? I'm missing them. I got to be missing them, right? They hide them under here. NFL fantasy score. Oh, you guys are saying there are no kickers on the board right now. They are under fantasy score. Okay. Weird. I'll pull up projections for you. How about that? We do have those. And if I'm not mistaken, they use DraftKings for their scoring. So you specifically mentioned who? Evan McPherson? There he is. There he is. I thought kickers used to be up under special teams. Maybe I'm wrong. Looking at his fantasy score over the last 5 games, 12, 13, 11, 11, and 15. Yeah, this dude's been kicking the football quite a bit, huh? I got him projected for about 7 against Tennessee. 7 fantasy points. I mean, the game logs look great. I can see why you're asking about it, but in terms of the projection that I have here, yeah, I've got him projected for 7 fantasy points. Let's see if Fantasy Labs actually has a projection. Looks like they don't. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. They don't. They just have defenses in there. They do not have kicker projections. Let me look at something else here. Hold on. No. No kicker projections through Fantasy Labs from what I'm seeing. So anyway, McPherson, 7 fantasy points is the projection I have for him. He's at 7.5. I think you can also use pro. No, can't do that either. All right. Well, hey, that's all I got for you. He's hit the over on 7.5 fantasy score in 5 straight games, but I've got him projected to go for about 7. Okay, Nick. They used to be. All right. Yeah. All right. I didn't think I was too crazy. They just moved them on me. Gotcha. Yeah. So I have them projected for just over 7. So, I mean, that could really go either way. Let's see. Backtrack just a little bit here and look at some of your other questions. Chris the Great wants to know about some Jamar Chase receiving yards. Well, Jamar Chase receptions was one that my man Desmond was really liking. Jamar Chase's receiving yards, he's at 77.5. I mean, he's got 266 receiving yard upside, folks. 125 against Baltimore, 116 against Vegas. Let's take a look at Jamar Chase real quick and see what I have him projected for receiving yards. He did not initially stand out to me as one that was like a super good edge or anything like that. But let me revisit. I could have been wrong. Got him projected for 79.2. So yeah, not a huge big edge over the 77.5. And then for the Fantasy Lab projection on him, 75.8. Now, of course, he's got upside. Like I said, huge upside. But yeah, Jamar Chase at 77.5, not seeing that great of an edge. Hey, my man Nick's leaving a sticker up in here. Check that out. That's awesome. Love that. Purple hair and all. Duncan, you're asking about some Randall Cobb fantasy points. Let's go take a look at Randall Cobb. We haven't really talked any fantasy points yet, but we will talk about one right here, right now. We got Randall Cobb. He is at 6 fantasy points. 6 fantasy points. You want to know about the projections for Randall Cobb? Let's pull them up. I've got him projected for 7.7 fantasy points according to Fantasy Labs using the Kerner model, Sean Kerner's model. Very well-respected guy when it comes to fantasy football. So 7.7, they like him to go over 6 fantasy score. Let's take a look at the blitz real quick. Derek Carty's model. Another guy who is just an ace when it comes to baseball especially, but football as well. So we go offense, we go wide receiver, we go Green Bay. Let's filter this down a little bit. And you're looking for Cobb. Cobb I have projected for 9.3 fantasy points. Yeah, I would say that Cobb over fantasy points is in play. 9.3 on one side, over 7 on another, and he's at 6 on PrizePicks. So looking like an over option for me. Cool. You're welcome. Who the locks? Well, I could tell you real quickly who the locks are. You got Sheik Luch, Styles P, and probably the most notable locks would be Jada Kiss. Muhammad, I talked about Devontae Adams over receiving touchdowns. Devontae Adams looking like a good over on 0.5 receiving touchdowns. Nick, you're liking, however you say his name, Jaschek. I don't know how to say that dude's name. I never could get his name right. It's like Mike Krzyzewski. Yeah, we talked about Derrick Henry's rushing yards as well. Let's look at Jace Check. Am I saying that right? Jace Check. That sounds right to me for some reason. Now, how do you spell it? Jus. As far as receiving yards, I've got him at 10.8 receiving yards. Is he actually up on the PrizePicks board? Did they put? They did. They put Kyle Juszczyk up at 8.5 receiving yards. So I got him projected for 10.8. So you're saying over on everything. Well, he's covered this in 3 straight games, so you might have a point. I do have him going over. I do have him going over his receiving yard prop, according to Fantasy Labs. Pulling him up on another site for you now using the Blitz here. I actually don't have anything for him on the Blitz. Interesting. Anyway, yep, got him going over on one side on his receiving yards. So you're saying over on everything, Juszczyk. Love it. Juszczyk. All right, guys, I'm fucking, excuse me. Ooh, censor that. Bleep that out. I'm butchering dude's name. Juszczyk. All right. All right. See, I told you. I knew I would murder it. Derrick Henry over rushing yards. We talked about him being a projected favorite to go over rushing yards. Yes. Yes. Juszczyk. That's right. Don't they say that every time he gets the ball? Like you hear the crowd, sounds like they're booing, but it's really just Juszczyk. All right. Yeah. What else do you want to know about Adams though? For you who asked about Devontae Adams, we like him over his receiving touchdown prop. I think obviously his receiving yards are probably in play. I got Adams projected for it's close, 89.3 receiving yards. So not seeing some like great edges. I think PrizePicks has a pretty sharp lineup. I will say this, the Blitz has Devontae Adams going for 103 receiving yards. I love it. What are your 3 favorite lines so far, in your opinion? You're talking about like just 3 favorite picks? Well, man, for me, it would be really, really hard for me not to take this guy over a rushing touchdown. Like, there's some question marks, obviously, about the foot. But if he gets inside the 5-yard line, like, who's going to stop this dude? Like, he should be good for a rushing touchdown. I really like Derrick Henry over 0.5 rushing touchdowns. I think for me, I'm also really liking the passing attack for both teams here in this Tampa Bay game. So Tom Brady, Matt Stafford. Now, for those of you who don't know, you can take the overs on both of these quarterbacks and then combine it. I don't know. Let's say we wanted to throw Derrick Henry in there, and we wanted to throw, I'm just making stuff up here now at this point, all these guys in there. What did they get rid of the same game overs for? Oh, maybe it's just too easy. No, what happened to the bigger payouts? So I got Stafford going, okay. Stafford going over, Brady going under. Now, when I put these two together, I guess they're not giving us the, when you put Brady and Stafford both over, we were getting a 12.5x payout on a 5-pick. I don't think it has to include a different sport, does it? Is that one of the things? I'm just randomly picking stuff here. So that's a 12. Okay. So that's a 12.5x. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you now. There's the 15x. So if you take a quarterback like Stafford and Brady, who are both in the same game, obviously, you take one over, one under, and then put 3 other picks in there. In a 5-pick, you can unlock the 15x payout. If you take them both over, 2 quarterbacks from the same game, you take them both over, and then you combine 3 other picks with that, you get the 12.5x payout. So that's how you unlock bigger payouts. I know you guys were asking in one of the previous shows or whatever, how do you get 15x and 12.5x. There you go. That's how you do it. I thought you could do it with with the same sport. Like I thought you could do all NFL and still get that 12.5 or 15, but maybe I'm wrong. Andres, you're asking about Derrick Henry over fantasy? Maybe. He's just going to be a big question mark for me. Let's look at his fantasy score though. Just not sure, do I feel completely comfortable about, taking all these overs on Derrick Henry? I don't know. I don't know what to expect yet. There he is. Sheesh, man. I'm not seeing things well today. 15 fantasy points for Derrick Henry. Let's take a look at the projections for Henry. Nothing. Oh, there we go. 16.1. So he's a favorite to go over according to Fantasy Labs. Let's take a look at him over here on the Blitz. Derrick Henry projected for 20.8 fantasy points. So yeah, I think we think that Derrick Henry is probably in play. He is a favorite to go over on two different models. 15 fantasy points seems low. It's just, big question mark for me. You guys are talking about any 15x combos on these quarterbacks that stand out to me. Well, let's revisit. So we were talking about some interception props. You guys were really liking Jimmy G to throw a pick, but we don't have Aaron Rodgers up here to put with him. But you could take maybe like Garoppolo over 0.5 interceptions, or maybe you think Stafford or Brady actually throw one. Those were like our top three guys when it came to the interception props. And then you were asking for like an under. Would you go under on Aaron Rodgers at 251 passing yards? I don't think I would. Completions. Would you go under on Aaron Rodgers at 24 completions with like an over on Garoppolo's interceptions? I don't know that I feel comfortable going under on a Tom Brady completion prop. I don't know that I feel comfortable going under on Matthew Stafford's completions. It's tough, man. It's tough to unlock that. I like the over on both Brady and Stafford passing yards. I'd rather probably chase a 12.5x payout than a 15. You can't, by the way, you cannot use Pat Mahomes' passing yard promo to unlock a 12.5 or a 15x. Cannot do that. Maybe you go under on Garoppolo's passing yards and you go over on Aaron Rodgers' passing yards. Yeah, I mean, you could do that, possibly, maybe. That could be a move. Or maybe you go under on Tannehill passing yards and over on Burrow, perhaps? I don't know. Really tough. Eli Mitchell. Say his name. Say his name, huh? What do you like Eli Mitchell on? You got to be a little more specific. I'll say his name. I said it. Muhammad, what do you think about Pringle's receiving yards? Let's take a look. Byron Pringle. Once you pop, you can't stop. Oh, Byron Pringle. 30.5 receiving yards. He has covered this in 4 straight games. 4 straight games for Byron Pringle. So, yeah, I mean, he's getting the job done for sure. Let's take a look at where I have him projected. Not seeing an edge on this one. I got him projected for 33.6, so slight favorite to go over. Ever so slight. And then I got him at 33.5. So both sites like him to go over, but it's not like he's going to go over by a ton. It sounds like, I mean, from the looks of the projections, they like him to go over just by a few yards. Eli Mitchell rushing yards, obviously. Well, okay then, David, let's go look at it. Obviously. Duh. Elijah Mitchell, 76.5 rushing yards going up against Green Bay. Do we like this matchup for Mitchell? Or do we think he gets game scripted out with like Green Bay possibly building a lead and then totally abandoning the run game? Is that a scenario that could happen? I got Elijah Mitchell projected for 74.2 rushing yards. So they actually like him to go under. The blitz actually has him going under his rushing yards prop. I've got him projected for 85 on Fantasy Labs. So we're seeing like two sort of like opposites here. One site has him going slightly under. One other site has him going over by quite a bit. Just looking at this matchup here, running backs versus Green Bay, we could kind of go take a look and see how many rushing yards per game they give up to opposing tailbacks. Green Bay, they are down toward the bottom, man. They're actually a pretty good run defense. They're giving up the 6th fewest rushing yards per game to opposing running backs. So, I don't know, man. It's not looking great. Obviously, David. I'm just messing with you. Yeah, I don't know. For me, that doesn't look like a play, David. Just doesn't. It could be, though. Take a shot on it if you really love it. You guys are saying it doesn't matter how much San Francisco's down by. They're not going to stop running the ball. Yeah. Do we really trust Jimmy Garoppolo to throw it 30 times? Yeah. Dub K is saying maybe you could take Aaron Rodgers over on fantasy points and take Jimmy Garoppolo's first half passing yards. That's right. You can do first half. That's true. We could go first half. Aaron Rodgers, yes, they have game logs. They had them before when they first released PRA a couple days ago, and then for whatever reason yesterday they did not have them, and then they brought them back. But yeah, I'm sure they're still working out the kinks on that. PRA NBA, please. This is an NFL stream, unfortunately, but I will be talking some NBA throughout the day in Discord. So if you are a Patreon member, I'm going to end the stream and then we'll go continue the conversation throughout the day over there, talking NFL, NBA, and everything else that you like. Appreciate you guys being here, though. Time for me to get out of here, go find something for lunch. Your boy's hungry. If you haven't liked the stream yet, I appreciate you doing so. Thanks, guys, for the continued support. I will see you Monday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, back talking some hoops. Until then, enjoy your weekend, have some fun, watch some sports, win some money. Peace.